childhood wounds and how we're initially chained, initial bondage. So I'm 10 years old, sitting at the dinner table, have a really nice looking plate of rice and peas and chicken. I grew up in Jamaica, and that's a traditional Sunday staple. Smells really good, but what is my 10-year-old self doing? I'm bawling. I'm crying my eyes out. And why am I crying? I'm crying because I feel all alone. My mom had just left the country, didn't know my dad, and so I felt everyone in the world had abandoned me. I was a lonely kid, and that became my story as an adult. Everyone is going to leave. There's no one else in the world. There's no one who loves me. There's no one who wants me. And so, growing up, eventually learned some tools and went back to that 10-year-old kid and gave him what he needed. Took him out of that darkness and put him into a beautiful place with lots of other people, and he's happy now.
Hmm. And I remember I was standing on a chair at the counter, making a fluff and jelly sandwich because I didn't like peanut butter at the time. It was fluff and jelly, and I was upset because my mom was making me make my lunch for the first time, and I didn't want to, and I was a busy man back then, and this was nonsense that I had to make my own lunch now. And she said, "Michael, you have to learn to be responsible for yourself." And I'm making it, and I'm not really paying attention. I slip off the chair and barely missed the edge of the counter, but hit something, and I land on the floor, and I think I'm okay. And then all of a sudden, blood starts just pouring down my face and over my eye, and I start crying and freaking out because I don't know what's happening, and I'm terrified that that I'm dying. Like my head is cracked open, and we go in the bathroom, and my mom is there, and she's like extremely scared and caring for me. And it had like slit open my eye, so it just missed my eyeball, the jelly jar top. And I remember just being really angry at her for not being there for me. And that started a story that no one's there for me and I have to do everything myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so, similar to you, I went back and revisited that little boy and gave him a hug and some fatherly energy. And told him it was all going to be okay and that people love him and are there for him.
Yeah. We think, maybe this is not for everyone, but we do think a lot of us have a similar story. We're really not that different as human beings. The quality and the events might look a little bit different, but the effect might be the same. Something happened in our childhood that was uncomfortable, possibly even traumatic, and we held on to that. We allowed it to chain us, to hold us in bondage. And if we don't revisit those moments and possibly relive them with support, from a therapist, some spiritual leader, or someone with support, someone who's experienced, a healer who is experiencing that type of thing that can help you to begin the process of unshackling yourself from that initial bondage, from that initial chain.
Yeah, and the promise is that everyone has this chain or chains, even multiple different events from childhood that create beliefs and patterns and perceptions of the world that bind you. I wanted to do that movement video. And as we both shared, it's totally possible to break out of them.
Yeah, and if we don't, the risk is that those little kids of ours show up at different points in our lives, and they run the show. So we're in a romantic relationship, and we're feeling like, why is she not paying me any attention? Is she gonna leave? I bet she's gonna leave. She's gonna leave. I bet it. She's gone. I knew it. You know, our little kid is just running the show, and we're not really there and present to who we are today and our core selves. You know, and this can show up in multiple other relationships and experiences. You know, if you know, if we don't address this, we're opening up the we're leaving the space open for our little selves to run our adult lives.